Good afternoon, everyone. It's lovely to see so many people in the audience as one of the last presenters. So I can hope I can end with some energy as you head into your networking. I am President of National Grid Electricity Distribution, and we ensure that the lights stay on and the electricity gets delivered to 8 million homes in the south west, the South Wales and East and West Midlands. And we do that through our large employee base of 6,500 people. But in my role in National Grid, I am also Executive Chair of Women in National Grid, and I'm Executive Sponsor of our workplace approach to domestic abuse. And how did I get to take on this role, you ask? And actually it was a very inspirational programme leader of our response who, when she described her own lived experience and the impact we could have on the business, I instinctively said yes. But I said yes with a very degree of lack of education and understanding, and worked over the last 2 years on a journey of education, knowledge, and then thinking and feeling about the real true impact that we can have as leaders in our businesses. And in thinking and feeling, I imagined a workplace where I could go into work, sit down in these open plan spaces next to a colleague and never know that they were suffering and at risk of violence and abuse at home with no avenue for support. That didn't quite feel right. When I got myself educated about the data and the fact that I could walk into my many depots, down the corridors, host town halls, and look out in that audience, and maybe 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have experienced domestic abuse. And then when I looked at the facts and figures, which many have been shared today, that in 2023, 2.4 million UK residents experienced domestic abuse, was quite staggering. And we call it domestic, but of course, we heard from the panel, there's a huge spillover into work. And in fact, 75% of victim survivors will experience an intervention that prevents them at work, whether that's emails, calls, and potentially even physical stalking. And of course, that leads into a huge, important business impact where through those issues, you can see the real costs in lack of productivity, lost time at work. And so if you don't buy into it personally, you can buy into the business case, which is incredibly real. And of course, as I went through my own personal journey, I realised it really could happen to anyone. And there were 2 really big moments that stood out for me. One was when I visited some of my depots and offices where we'd rolled out our guidance. We'd actually created on the back of the loo door the place to go for help, the tag to take the number if I need support. And I sit there and they're ripped off. This is real. This is happening in my business. And just that one intervention may have made a difference. And then taking these moments of education awareness to senior colleagues across various committees to really endorse and promote. And in a very intimate senior committee, having shared the moment, the opportunity for the business and the policies and guidance that were in place, that one very senior colleague felt just in that moment, just that safe to share their own story. That was very, very real. It can happen to anyone. And the most compelling thing for me about that experience was in months later when they rang me to say how much that one moment had mattered, that they had been heard. And even though that was an experience from a decade ago, somehow this unseen and unknown weight had lifted in their own self-worth, their own ability, their own self-reflection. It was incredibly powerful. And it led me to 2 real truths, that work is often really the only safe space, and we have a huge duty of care and a massive responsibility as businesses, and we can make a really meaningful difference to people's lives. So our journey has been over many years, but before I took over sponsorship, so I can't take the credit for that. But of course, we take on our journey further It started, and there are very real, tangible things that businesses can do from today with our awareness and education programs, how we can train our managers and staff to spot the signs of abuse, to look out for those changes in behaviour, those unexplained injuries, those frequent absences, or suddenly just a sudden drop in performance. And practically in National Grid, we do that through our domestic abuse toolkits, through our champion networks that exist in each of our 6 business units, which cover 30,000 people. And really, we raise awareness to spot the signs and signposts to support. We have now taken that ability and focus into our interactions with our customers. We serve through our contact centres millions of calls every single year, and now our operatives are trained to spot signs of vulnerability and also can help our customers to direct to support. Of course, through raising awareness and spotting the signs, you can really start to evolve and co-create new policies and support that make a huge difference. And there were many examples listed today, but for us, that's mean really looking at the right forms and breadth of compassionate paid leave, the range of flexible working arrangements that can make a difference, temporary relocation options. All of these can provide, vital lifelines for those in need of support in those critical moments. And of course, making sure we've got access to confidential helplines and employee assistance programs, and where necessary, in-house counselling. Of course, we don't do it alone, and I'm going to also plug the most important thing, which I think for business to get going, is partnering with charities and really experienced organisations. Businesses do not have to do this alone, and there are so many options out in front of us if we go looking. Of course, for us, the obvious option was joining EIDA, and it's been a tremendous help to us, guiding us on best practice, connecting us with other organisations that we wouldn't naturally see in our own peer or sector group, and really helping us develop resources and approaches, because the evolving cultural challenge deserves discussion, debate, advice and support at the most senior levels of the organisation. That's allowed us to think more broadly and develop financial independence programs. We know that many victims and survivors stay in those abusive relationships because of the financial dependency. And for us, that's meant we've now been able to think about partnering quite differently, and now with Barclays on both financial literacy training and also building financial advisory into our employee assistance programs. The big piece of the puzzle is the role of leaders, and what every single leader in every single organisation can do. We should never underestimate the tremendous influence and ability we have to champion within our organisation, to make sure that the environments within our workplace sustain and create the pull and the support and the guidance, because a policy can sit on a shelf or it can live and breathe because of what we have championed and created and given visible support to. And of course, our influence can often extend more broadly than our own organisation. And I haven't cracked it yet, Susan, but I'm trying, in terms of how then we can reach out to our peer companies that we are compared against, we're benchmarked against, we collaborate with, and also in encouraging sectoral responses. And we can amplify our voices, not only in the channels within our sector, but more broadly within the media. So, how do we make a difference? I've got 1 minute left. 5 tangible things that we can do as business leaders that can move this forward. Awareness and education, workplace policies and support, partnering, financial independence programs, and us as leaders for change. And just think, I've been speaking to you for about 8 minutes, and in that time, 8 new cases of domestic abuse have been reported. to the police. This is real. We can all play a huge role in churning the tide on the issue. Just imagine the impact we can have. Every leader, every business in this room, if from today we took one of those actions forward and encouraged other organisations that we've invited to follow us, we could create safe spaces, offering tangible support, spreading awareness and removing stigma. And we can change lives. And maybe even save one too. Thank you.